everybody, it's En route. Thank you for joining me today. I have a long drive, so I just wanted to kind of talk about a few things. And one of the things I wanted to say is, when somebody makes a video, it's never going to be like the full conclusion of it, because a lot of the topics that I talk about, they're loaded, and it's not like I have an interviewer asking me all these like perfectly curated questions. I'm kind of just going off the cuff, going off the top of my head and discussing how I feel. And sometimes I don't always get everything I think about a certain subject out, and then sometimes there's instances where certain things just don't even apply. And I want everybody to be open-minded about that and understanding of that there is a broad spectrum, but there's also one side or the other. There's a very hot side, a very cold side. And we have to collectively be understanding that context matters. Context matters. I had a question a little bit while back, and the question was something along the lines of like, what do you believe in? I'm like, oh, do you believe in, like, I guess essentially like a higher power or what? And I would say I definitely do believe in a higher power, because I would not be here if it wasn't for that higher power. And there are just instances in my life that let me know that, there really is a God. There really is that. And the enemy will always try to diminish your name and to try and destroy you, especially when God has something very big planned for you. And, I was just watching a video earlier that sparked this idea in my mind about it, because I don't really talk about my beliefs, and I'm not religious, so it's not even, I don't want to talk about religion. I just have a spiritual connection and understanding that, this three-dimensional world that we're in is not everything, and it's not your full life. A lot of people are so comfortable in the way that things are because they don't know anything else, and they are not connected with their higher self and their spirituality and things that are deeper than just a pretty facade. And I think a lot of the problem is that because sometimes something isn't with a pretty facade at first or whatever, people tend to judge it and think of it as lesser or something, never ever realizing that maybe what they're looking at is a rough diamond, and maybe what they're looking at is something that needs to be carved and shaped and molded into that diamond. And while you have rough material to work with, you have a giant ass diamond in the middle of that, and you have no idea. And that's what a lot of people do. I noticed that throughout my life, people would use me for my talents, for my gifts, for the things that I'm able to offer them. And then when it came time for me to ask them for something, and get help in some way from them, it was a resounding no. Like, what? What? You're asking me to do something for you? That's weird. And I thought, this really isn't a two-way street. I'll give you a story. I'm not going to name any names. There was this model, and I thought, wow, she's beautiful. And I used to, do model photography. I used to do a lot of fashion photography, and I did a really hell of a good job. Now that I realize how good of a job now, looking back, I'm like, wow, I should have never done half of that crap that I did for free because all these people were so like ungrateful about it. You know, I spent hours and hours editing these people's pictures, making them look way better than they actually do look. And the credit that I receive from it, and just like, you know, it's not that I expect something, but it really makes you think, like, when you put in so much work and effort for someone, and you think that you guys are friends, and you think that you're cool, and you think that, you know, everything's Gucci, and then you get slapped in the face with reality. It's like, wow, you know, I put in so much effort to benefit someone and raise them higher, and I was left in the pit, and they didn't even try to help me at all, even though what brought them up was me, what propped them up was me. But because I propped them up, they said, thanks, see you later, deuces. And I was left there with nothing. And yet I had put all this energy and effort into the relationship. I had this model that, again, like I said, she was very pretty, but, you know, a lot of these girls, some of them they don't have their own cars or stuff like that, you know, and she lives pretty damn far. And a couple times I went out there to take photos for her. I even did a free photo shoot for one of her birthdays, not because, oh, I just, you know, needed these pictures so badly. I thought she was my friend. I thought it was just taking pictures with my friend. I like taking photos. I think it's fun. But at the same time, I didn't realize how ungrateful she was to what I was doing. And so I used my own gas, my own resources, my own time, my own money to go over there to help this chick out, to move her modeling career forward. And at the end of it, I get betrayed, I get shit talked behind my back, you know, and I even people that they did makeup, and I did photos, specifically headshots, to show off their makeup. Even they started like talking shit, despite the fact that how much work I put in for them and how many different like shots I got for them. And the thing is that they didn't even do like, it's not that they didn't do good makeup, but I really made their shit look good. I really perfected that look for them so that I can make them look good, and I wanted them to look good. I wanted everybody to look good, you know? But I realize now it's just that sometimes people just don't want it to be you. They just don't want it to be you. And I realize that a lot of people, they just don't want it to be me. And I was like, why? And as I've gone down my spiritual journey, I've realized a lot that the people that I thought were genuinely like my friends and there for me, they were all talking shit behind my back, making fun of me in Facebook groups, squandering my name, and so many other people, even photographers who were, now that I look back, were clearly jealous of the fact that I was where I was at the young age that I was, and yet, you know, I was up to par with them and their standard, and I was competition. I didn't look at myself as competition, because when I get into something, I'm never really competing with people. I don't think, oh, I'm gonna beat you. I'm just thinking, oh wow, a collaborative thing, or oh wow, you like that, that's great. I like that too, you know, and we just work together. But so many people decided, yeah, let's just go and all point the finger at this person and destroy them and their name. And, you know, I even had one of these creative directors tell me she was going to blackball me and, you know, ruin my name and all this crap. And then I had models starting to act weird around me. Like, people just started acting weird around me, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, why is everybody acting weird and no one's even coming to me and talking to me about anything? Like, everybody they were just, you know, out for themselves, and in with the popular kids and, you know, just wanting to fit in. And no one stuck up for me because at the end of the day, I didn't do anything wrong. I know I didn't do anything wrong. If I did something wrong, I should feel guilty about it or sad about it. But I know I didn't do anything wrong. And so no one stuck up for me. And whatever people said I may have done, I don't know what it is. I still don't know what the issue was because no one stepped up and said, hey, this girl did a lot for me. This girl, you know, put me on. I'm going to defend her. She, you know, she was good to me. No. Everybody went with the popular people. Everybody went with, oh, well, this seems more popular and she's who she is. And, you know, I just didn't mean much to anybody, you know, and it's like, oh, since I was giving away my services for free at the time because I was trying to build up a portfolio on some instances, not all instances. Sometimes I did get paid. Sometimes I did it as more of a collaborative trade for photo kind of shoot. And I just found it pretty unbelievable that like people will just take so much from you and like never return the favor. And again, it wasn't necessarily everybody, but towards the end of the line, it's like I don't talk to any of those people now. You know, I don't even know what's what with them. I removed myself from that cannibalizing group of people because it was just dramatic for no reason. And, you know, I was just like, okay, just bye. Because I don't know what's going on. And I got rid of my social media accounts. Literally, this YouTube channel is all I do now when it comes to social media, unless I'm doing something that's doesn't have my face on it, you know. And I feel great about it. And while yes, maybe one day I'm gonna go back on and, you know, do some projects that I may want to do later on in the future. Right now, I'm really liking this. You know, just build up mode. I'm just taking care of myself. I'm just trying to figure my life out, getting myself together, putting some roots down, and just making sense of things. And I realized that I need to stop helping people when I'm not where I want to be, because at that time, what it was is that I didn't have the authority in people's minds, and so I was just a throwaway, even though looking back, I'm sure most of them would regret not ever taking a photo with me again, because I'm not trying to toot my horn. I'm really good at photography. I can take amazing photos, and I know Photoshop like the back of my hand. I can do anything on Photoshop pretty much. All right. And so, you know, it is what it is. And I've realized that, you know, I have to be with people that are equally yoked to me, or unfortunately I am going to have to deal with jealousy. I'm going to have to deal with the enemy in people. And a lot of these people are just very close-minded, narrow, superficial, ladder climbing type of people. And now, you know, it's like, and the thing is that I was trying to build a community that would work together and create something super amazing. I was doing a fashion show. I was getting a fashion show ready. I even had all the models. I spent a lot of money just getting the interviews, the runway interviews done for the models, and getting food and all this stuff, and preparing and organizing and directing all this stuff, creating all the paperwork and blah, 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 to only have the stylist be super disrespectful, and to have, you know, other people that were involved to be, talking shit behind my back and sabotaging certain things. Like I the one that I had working as my right hand, I kept having to ask her stuff like several times, and she was one of the ones talking the most shit too. And so, you know, and then devastatingly, a tragedy happened in my life, and I had to cancel everything. And it was, you know, the tragedy wasn't great, but it was a blessing that I didn't go through with that show, because I had too many snakes around me. And the problem with having too many snakes around you is that how can you be successful when everybody around you is trying to eat you? You know, you can't. And so here I am, just trying to do a good thing and getting punished for it because I was naive, I was young, and again, I didn't have that authority that I am starting to gain now, where I'm, you know, I'm just more aware of things now. I'm more connected now, more in tune, and I'm more, like I said, in tune with God and my higher self and the spiritual realm. And I started to realize how spiritual things really are, and that if things aren't spiritually aligned, it won't work. And so that failed, and all that great stuff. And like I said, I'm grateful for it. But I also feel bad for the people that, you know, that were so easily manipulated by the hype and by the lies, because it's like, man, you can be manipulated and swayed into believing anything as long as the person comes to you first. And that's the problem. It's like the biggest problem with our society. It's like people have a hard time changing their mind, even if evidence is presented to them, because they just want to be that way. And, you know, at the end of the day, I realized, like, a lot of these people, they never had the actual, like, intellectual thought to think, oh, there might be two sides to a story, you know? They just went off with what the popular agenda was, like most people are doing today, and they're saying, yeah, anybody that doesn't fall in line with the popular agenda is wrong, or is lying, or should die, or should whatever, you know? Like, the ignorance is top tier. It's on another level. And I think the hardest thing that I've had to deal with is starting to actually find those people who are at my level spiritually, intellectually, you know, and just in life. You know, everyone's just kind of messy and like complacent and a little bit lazy, you know. You get the bare minimum a lot, you know. Hard work is like almost a dying art. And I just, you know, I come on here because I love to throw out seeds and food for thought and make people think, because maybe what I say matters to some extent. And, you know, I'm hoping that maybe that I can change people for the better, and showing them that they can think for themselves, they can come to conclusions for themselves, and they can do their own research, and they can, you know, make things happen. And, you know, you're not as stuck as you think. You know, things are not as difficult as you think, but the enemy will always try to trap you with your emotions and with fear. And fear is not understanding something. Fear is not knowing, oh, I'm scared, I heard a bump in the night. But if you knew what that bump was, oh, it was just a raccoon playing in my trash can, the fear wouldn't be as much. But because you don't know what it is, you have this unrealistic fear, and that is what the enemy feeds on, fear. And so one of my biggest things that have helped me move forward, and it's the most simplest thing: fear not. Fear not. Do not lean onto your own understanding. And, you know, those words mean so much, you know, and sometimes things may not go in the particular way that you want it to, but fear not. Continue forward, continue focusing on the goal, the mission, and eventually you'll go there. Sometimes things may not go the way you want because you got to learn something in that interim of complications. And I think there's a lot of people walk around with a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear, and it while some of this could be nutritional, like I was speaking about in my other video yesterday. So a lot of it is in your head too. A lot of it is your thought process. A lot of it is how you perceive something. I could look at a mud puddle and say, oh my God, disgusting. It's such a dirty mud puddle. Like, ew, get away from me. Or I could look at that mud puddle and be like, oh wow, that's a great place to grow some rice. It depends on how you look at things. And so I want to kind of dare, I don't know the right word, but push people into starting to perceive things differently. Oh, I don't have, money for, let's say, I don't know, something that's expensive. Let's say I don't have enough money for, a garden bed. But then you go out into the woods and you just cut some logs up yourself and form a garden bed with those logs and just try your best. It's all about how you handle things. Like, maybe I don't have enough money to buy a bunch of fancy garden beds, but there's woods. I could grab logs. I could stick them all together in a certain shape, in a square or a circle or rectangle, and I can start from there. And a lot of people have a problem with looking small. A lot of people have a problem with starting small, and then they don't start at all. We have to become more creative and in trying to actually push forward towards what we want, because and that's another thing. Like, the comfort and the money and the excess has made us less creative. And I'm trying to help people understand that you don't always need as much as you think you need, and sometimes what you think you need is right there in front of you and you don't even realize it. And I've come to that conclusion in so many epiphanies, so many times, that, oh wow, I had this tool all along, I just didn't have the right mindset. And it's amazing how often that happens. It's amazing. Well, I'm on shaky ground, so I'm gonna end it here. But I hope this leaves you with something positive. Have a good day.